What is going on, gunfighters? Welcome to Gunfighter Life, the podcast where we talk about all manner of things, gun adjacent, the right way, with God Almighty at the center, biblical, Judeo-Christian values, and real-world, first-hand experience. Today, you don't really know what you're going to get because it's a Q&A from Patreon. If you haven't, slide on over to Patreon. A lot of times I'll have polls or requests for questions there. And you don't have to, if I remember, to set it to the right setting, which I try to do most of the time. I can't say I'm perfect at it, but I try and make it free. So you can just go to Patreon and ask a question, or go to Patreon and click one of the polls for content that you want. So check that out, Patreon link in the show notes. With that, let's roll into it. Got some good questions today when I posted this earlier today. So let's see what I can do for you guys. I'm here to serve. Should you change out the ammo you carry in your EDC handgun and spare mags? If so, how often? Generally, in law enforcement circles, it's every 6 months to a year. Probably every 6 months to a year. You probably don't have to do it any more frequently than that, with the exception of round setback. If you dry fire a lot with your carry gun and you load your rounds and then you unload and load a snap cap, and then when you go to load up again, you load again. So you're basically loading the same 1 or 2 rounds in the top of the magazine. That can give you an issue called round setback, where the round gets seated farther back in the case, which can spike pressures and have catastrophic results. So you want to be mindful of that. The easy way to do this is every once in a while, those first couple of rounds in the mag, just take all the rounds out of your mag and put those rounds at the bottom so they're not constantly getting cycled back and forth with the first round or two. You want to be mindful of that. And then obviously, any other obvious things like you're prone to overlube your gun, and then you take the round out of your chamber and you see it's got like lube on the back where the primer is. Most good defensive rounds are going to be water sealed back there, but if you see like visible lubrication and stuff where the primer is, just get rid of that round or shoot it your next practice session and put in a fresh round. Be mindful of any damage on your rounds. You drop it in the dirt. Maybe don't put that one back in your chamber for a carry round. But in general, 6 months to a year, with, again, those caveats in place. And it doesn't mean you have to throw those rounds away. Maybe they go from being in your primary magazine to your backup magazine, or maybe they go from being on your EDC carry to your vehicle bag or your bailout bag. So they're not your go-to crucial rounds, but they're not worthless after a year. And actually, I already touched on it, but another question is, related question, I've heard it said before that you shouldn't rechamber rounds. Is that true? If there's no visible movement of the projectile in relation to the case, yeah, you should look for, obviously, if you can see it, that's an issue. Like if you can see it, that's a big issue. Don't even shoot that round if you can see round setback. But just because you can't see it doesn't mean it's not there. I would avoid chambering and unchambering the same round over and over again. Again, just cycle through your rounds. So it's not going to hurt it if you do it once or twice, but if you do that every day for a year, you're chambering that same round 300 and some times, that's a lot. I would not do that. It's just a bad practice. Just cycle through the rounds that you're chambering. So that's how I would answer that question. But just because you can't see it, I mean, you're talking about measurements you measure with a micrometer. If you can see it, obviously that's bad, but you may have some round setback and you just can't see it. So I think we've sufficiently answered that. How widespread are Christians in the L.A.P.D military private security field? I feel Christians are fairly common, yet infrequently express their faith publicly. Okay, so here's a big thing I'm going to say to this. It's not my place to judge somebody's salvation. I'm not going to pretend that it is, right? I don't know. Because I don't know somebody's state of salvation. I don't know if they're going to heaven or hell. That's not in my purview. I preach the gospel. That said, what do you mean by Christian? Like their parents took them and they got baptized when they were an infant? Is that what you're talking about by they're Christian? Like if they were asked in a survey, they would say they're a Christian because they're culturally a Christian? Or are we talking like Christian, like they read their Bible every morning, they get down on their knees and they pray, they know if I gave them a basic Bible quiz, they would pass it. Like they know in order like the Gospels. They know the Ten Commandments and can recite them. Like, what kind of Christian are we talking about? We're talking about like a dedicated Christian with a hardcore understanding, like we would think of like the people that came to this country to found a Christian nation. I would say sadly it's not very common. You're talking about culturally a Christian, like they know the basic story. I'd say that's fairly common. I would say it's no more common in military law enforcement circles than it is in your general day-to-day life. And it's sadly, I think, become less common. I heard a stat recently that made me both happy and sad that in 1900, I want to say it was 96%, but it was high 90s. In 1900, 96% of the people in this country called themselves Christians. High 90s. What do you think that is today with all the atheists and pagans and devil worshippers and Muslims? What do you think that is now? How common is it? It's about as common as it is anywhere else. In my time in military law enforcement, not super common, as far as I know. Like maybe they, I don't know. Like I don't know somebody's salvation, but from a tree is known by its fruit. So judging on behavior, not super common. Pump shotgun light mounting options. Okay, so you got some options here. The old school like Surefire 4 ends that were made for the common shotguns that like has the flashlight built into it. That was like the ye olde operator style of the day. So you might still be able to find some of those if they still make them. The like Surefire ends where it's like a Surefire flashlight built in. But nowadays, I would say just if it's a common platform, 870, 500 series, then get one that takes M-LOK. Be very liberal with your application of blue Loctite and put a lightweight but still bright flashlight on there. And I say lightweight because inertia is a thing. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. Anybody that's fired slugs and buckshot through a shotgun, which if you're mounting a white light on your pump gun, you're probably going to be shooting. I don't think I have to tell you, there's a fair amount of recoil in that system. So just like when you're driving in the car and you slam on the brakes, the car slows down, but your body wants to keep going forward, so you hit the seatbelt. Same thing happens when that shotgun is still and you pull the trigger and the shotgun flies back. The other things want to stay still. So the lighter, as long as it's robust and rugged enough, that light is, the less it's going to want to slam around. And all of the things being equal, the less it's going to work free. Because objects at rest tend to want to stay at rest until an outside force acts upon them. So I wouldn't overthink it. I would get a good M-LOK or rail mount system, a decently rugged but lightweight flashlight, and then I would shoot a crap ton of ammo through it and see if it holds up and if it stays in place. And that should answer that question. Alrighty, this one. I'm building a Ruger SFAR as a survival bug-out rifle. Want to be able to protect myself, kick down doors, and hunt while whitetail and pig. Can you give me a basic blueprint or idea how should you set up the rifle? Thank you. God bless. Well, God bless you, sir. Okay, so you're not asking a lot, are you? You basically want one rifle to do everything. Basically what everybody's wanted from a rifle since rifles existed but have been unable to do. For everything, there's a trade-off. Not saying you can't do it, right? It's going to be a 308 with a 16-inch barrel, so you can certainly do those things. But for everything, like pretty much everything else in the firearms world, it's going to be a trade-off. Do you want it to be more tactical? It's going to be less effective for hunting. Do you want it to be better for hunting? It's going to be less effective at kicking down doors. Plus, I would say my first advice that I gave him was prayer, and training. If you want to do all those things, prayer and training. Prayer and training are way more important than the rifle that you have, right? With enough prayer and training, I could do all that with a knife if I really need to. Sharpen a stick and do what I need to do with that. So, the battle is the Lord's. He doesn't save with sword or spear. for the battle is the Lord's. So prayer and training. You're going to want a lot of training, especially if you're going to go kicking down doors solo. So as somebody that's been a professional door kicker for a long time and was an urban warfare instructor for the Marine Corps, you had better get a lot of training if you want to be kicking down doors. So prayer and training. Okay, next I said red dot or LPVO. If you want this to be the one gun to rule them all, I like an LPVO. That's just me. I also, if you want to look at a prism sight like the Advanced Combat Optical Gun Sight, right, or ACOG, as it's commonly called, that would be a good one too. Real rugged. It would be fine. A good 3X or 4X on that would be good if you can shoot bending concept, which, again, that gets back to training. But if you shoot both eyes open, I shoot both eyes open pretty much all the time. Whether it's handgun, rifle, shotgun, whether I'm shooting a magnified optic or a non-magnified optic, that's just how I roll. It would be very foreign to me to shut one eye. You should learn to shoot with both eyes open, but some people say, because it's back to training, but some people just can't or don't want to learn to shoot with both eyes open with a magnified optic. So in that case, that might not work for you. But just a fixed ACOG or something like it, a prism sight, that's pretty rugged. And if the batteries go out, it will still work. A good rugged LPVO will also work. The number one that I recommend is the L.A.P.D VX Freedom 1.5 to 4 with a Pigplex reticle. It's a fantastic reticle. It's a fantastic scope. I have had it on both hunting rifles and tactical rifles. That's how much I like that. It's lightweight, getting back to kind of what we talked about before with objects at rest wanting to stay at rest. I think the lighter the optic, the better. Also, it balances better. That 1.5 to 4 is fantastic. Out to any yardage that you're going to be able to use that rifle for. People shoot 1,000-yard iron sight competitions all the time. So get out of your head that you need a bunch of magnification. Now, I like a little bit from time to time, but a 1.5 to 4 is nice. You might think, why 1.5 to 5 or 1.5 to 4 versus just a 1 to 4? Well, I think because L.A.P.D is honest. A lot of LPVOs will say they're 1 to something, but they're not a true 1X. So I think L.A.P.D is just being honest there when they say 1.5 to 4. It's not like a red dot sight where it's a true 1X. So that would be my number one recommendation. Again, that's the L.A.P.D VX Freedom 1.5 to 4 with the Pigplex reticle. If you can't find the Pigplex, their MOA ring reticle is also fairly good. I prefer the Pigplex. It's really thick, and that's good for shooting quick, fast, and in a hurry. Also, do not forget your backup iron sights. You need backup iron sights, especially for the kind of rifle that you're building. So backup iron sights, Magpul flip-ups, those will do just fine. What else? A sling, a good 2-point sling. You can use that all kinds of different ways. You might want it mounted at 6 o'clock for, hunting stuff. You might want it mounted at, assuming you're right-handed, you might want it mounted at 9 o'clock for tactical stuff. But with today's modern adaptability and, QD mounts, that's easily attainable. But a good 2-point sling, like a Magpul, they make good ones. A Rhodesian sling for this would be fantastic. So look up a Rhodesian sling. You might want to rock that. I like those a lot. Also like making my own, but if you know what you're doing with that, you probably already know what you're doing. But a good 2-point sling. And kind of like the shotgun, a good white light. Now, with today's technology, get a good rechargeable white light. When the apocalypse, when the EMP zombies come, it won't work. Yeah, fine. Okay, so take it off and throw it away then. But until then, I like a white light. If it's for most things, I like a white light on my gun if it's for tactical stuff. Now, beware, in normal times, if you take that hunting and in my experience, fish and game officers don't have a good sense of humor. So you might want to tell them you're just rocking it for the apocalypse. You may just want to take it off because many times it is illegal to hunt with a flashlight. Pigs may be the exception, but for deer and stuff like that, likely that's gonna really hurt you there. So just take it off and put it back on. Again, with today's modern technology and mounting systems, it's what two screws, two usually Allen screws or Torx bits to take off that light and put it back on. Get a good lightweight but bright enough rechargeable light that will mount. I believe that's an M-LOK system. I had one of those Ruger SFARs. I think it's M-LOK, which has kind of become the standard. It will not be hard to find a good light that you can mount on there. And it really depends. This gets back to the training part, but whether you want to run your light at 6 o'clock or 3 o'clock or 9 o'clock or 1:30, right? You're going to know that by setting up your system and actually training with it. The other thing I would say for the gun that you're building and the purpose that you want it for, get an extra extractor, put it in the pistol grip, get a quick cleaning kit, and find a way to store it somewhere on the rifle, along with any of your really small parts and springs that are likely to go bad on a direct impingement system like that. So have a spare one. I normally say if you're rocking an AR, just have a whole separate bolt carrier group. Like the number of ARs you have, that should be the number of bolt carrier groups you should be the number of ARs you have plus one. So if it's your go-to fighting AR, you just have a spare bolt carrier group. That's going to be hard with an AR-10 type platform because there's no standard. They're all kind of proprietary, so you're not going to have a standard BCG. And I don't know if you can get a spare BCG for that gun, especially since they stopped making it. So at least have the small parts, have the springs. That is one of the foibles of the AR kind of system. It has a lot of small moving parts, and those parts can break. That said, if you're a halfway decent engineer, you can usually make your own springs and stuff from existing stuff. So anyway, just some thoughts there on that. But have some good spare parts, have some lube, right? Those AR systems generally like to be well lubed, and have an extra extractor, some extra springs, a way to clean it. And this is going to depend on your rifle. So see if your rifle likes these. But for 308, for a good all-around round that I use for hunting and for tactical stuff and all-around stuff, right? I use it in my SCAR 17. I have it in my, my Scout rifle. It's going to be the Federal 150 grain Power Shock. Right, it's good. It's affordable. It's like $20-some a box for 308. It's not bad. It's a good performing round. I think it's just a simple cup and core round, but it performs well. It's consistently accurate in many of my 308s, and it's affordable to shoot. So you again, going back to training, right? You can get a case of it and practice. But your rifle may not like that, so get something similar, right? I don't know, Winchester Super X or whatever. Obviously something other than an FMJ. Okay, so those are my thoughts on that and setting that up. I hope that was helpful. And this was a good comment from, based on your comment the other day, are you a hard no on an AK for a truck gun? And I responded, are you a hard no when getting shot in the face by first responders? Right? And don't get me wrong, I like the AK. It's a fantastic machine. I used it over in Iraq. It's a phenomenal machine. I have a lot of respect for that system. But it is seen in America as the bad guy gun. So it's more likely to get you shot, and it's especially in a CONUS environment, continental United States, where you can keep stuff clean. I don't think it's more effective than an AR-15. So you're taking kind of that risk on, and for what reward? I do think there's still a place for an AK in a modern survivalist kind of arsenal if you want one, but I don't think it's as a truck gun. And if you are going to go that route, get one that doesn't look like an AK. Get one that's a Galil Ace. It's a phenomenal gun. It's probably the best common one you can get on the market new that's really good, and it doesn't look like an AK. Most people aren't going to associate that with an AK. Most people, you assume that like cops and military guys are hardcore gun guys. They're not. They're not, right? They couldn't tell you a Glock from a Smith & Wesson M&P at a distance. So they couldn't tell you the difference. They can tell you what an AK is, though, because it's like the universal bad guy gun. And I don't like that, right? I'm not saying I support that, but that is what it is. So, yeah, if it's more likely to get you shot trying to do the right thing, I'm less likely and less inclined to tell you to do it. So you do what you want. You're a grown man. But on the flip side of that, one of the other guys came back with, for armed citizens, and I think he's overthinking this question. I'm going to try and paraphrase what he's saying here. should I get some kind of patches, like not saying that I'm law enforcement or anything, but like kind of looking like I'm law enforcement? Man, I think you're overthinking this. Look at both those Muslim shooters, terrorists from yesterday. When I'm recording this, it'll be later when you hear of it. But and they're not radical Muslims. Like, they are Muslims. They are the normal Muslims. The radical Muslims are the ones that don't read the Quran and don't do what it says. The Quran and all the other hadiths and stuff like that, the ones that are killing you, they're doing what they're told to do by Islam, because it's a horrible fake religion of child molesters and horrible things. Like, their head prophet married a 6-year-old girl. That's their head dude, right? So they're the regular Muslims out killing people. But if you look at both, I got off on a tangent there. If you look at both those shootings from just yesterday, they were both stopped by armed citizens. Right? I'm sure the police would have tried to stop them if they had got there in time. They weren't there in time. I don't know. I don't have a TV, but I think people watch John Wick or something and they expect like a 2-hour running gun battle. Unless you're actually in a war where it's like a giant battlefield, like literally in Iraq during the invasion, or literally, the fight for Fallujah, Thunder Run on Baghdad, whatever the operation is, those can be really long fights. But in general, fights are over quick. They're over in seconds, like literally seconds. A few seconds is not uncommon for a gunfight to be start and finish in a few seconds. So your gunfight has started and finished in a few seconds, and then 15 minutes, 30 minutes, 45 minutes later, the police show up. So I think you're overthinking this. I'm more concerned about you getting shot by an armed citizen than I am, the police. It's possible, and it's always possible. You're always taking on risk when you're carrying a gun. If you don't want to get shot, don't play with guns. You still might get shot anyway. But you're always taking on that risk, right? So, but the odds of the police showing up in that 3 seconds that your gunfight's going to last from you taking out the bad guy, it's not likely. And if it happens, it happens. If you took out the shooter and you get taken out, it's still a win, right? Because you still stopped innocent people from dying. So you should be okay with that risk. But I think you're overthinking this. Like, you're probably going to get into the shootout, and then that lasts a few seconds, and then 15 minutes later, your weapon should be stowed, and the cops are probably going to show up and figure out what happened, hopefully justifiably so. But I think you're overthinking that. And, again, going back to gunfights last seconds a lot of the times, while people are getting shot, bam, another body. Bam, another body. Bam, another body. As often happens sadly in active shooter situations. If you guys haven't listened to the full bio in a while, I was the commander of a tactical team to stop active shooters. Like, that's a real thing. Like, you're going to sit there and take an extra 30, 40 seconds to get dressed in your cool-looking ensemble to go against a gunfighter? No, you're going to go take them out as quick as you can. You may or may not have time to get a long gun out of your car. You're probably going to fight with the weapon on your hip, which is why I'm a big fan of telling you to carry a full-size fighting handgun on your hip like a man, not one of these little Ruger LCPs. So you're probably not even going to have time for that. But if you have time for that, you're probably going to grab it and go. You're probably not putting on all this stuff and lacing up your jungle boots and blousing your blousing garters and tucking in your pants and putting all these cool patches on. You're just probably not doing that. So how many people are you going to let die while you're getting your multicam shirt on with your patch on? Like, 0 is the amount of people I'm going to let die for that. So I think you're overthinking that. Just be well trained, be able to get fast, rapid first, second, third round hits on target quickly, be able to take out multiple targets quickly, because again, a lot of times fights happen in seconds. So be ready, watch and be ready, be vigilant. But I think that the way that you're planning stuff out in your head is likely not how scenarios are going to go down. Active shooters, active violence like that, vehicle rammings, those things oftentimes last seconds. All right, guys, here is the deal. I stopped this at about 24:27. The entire episode is about 38 minutes long. If you like this content, likely you'll like the rest of it. You can get the rest of it by going to Patreon. You don't have to put in a credit card or anything. You just have to scroll back through. It's entitled Patreon Questions Answered. So if you want the rest, and there's quite a bit more, go to Patreon. Yes, I'm trying to get you to go to Patreon to see what kind of cool stuff is on there. A lot of it is paid only. If you want to sign up, that'd be a good time. Patreon link is in the show notes. But if you just want to go there and scroll through, you'll be able to find the rest of this for free, including a story about egg salad. What? Egg salad? Are you titillated? You curious? Well, go check out Patreon. Link in the show notes. Hope you listen to the rest of this there. Thanks, men. Have a blessed day.